Okay, so here is your pyramids and cones warm up. Go ahead and work on that. Pause this. Take about 10 minutes to work on this and to copy down your EQ for today for spheres. And then start this after the 10 minutes. Okay, so for this, find the volume of a square pyramid with a slant height of 13. If I can get a pen that works here. So slant height is 13, base edge is 10, and show your work and label your answer. Now it's only asking for volume. So for your pyramid, that's 1/3 capital B times little h. Capital B is the area of the square base, so we can find that. So that's going to be 1/3. Actually, I do divide by 3. So the base area is going to be 100 because you do 10 times 10. That's the area of the square. The height we don't know yet, and then we'll divide by 3. So remember there's always this right triangle in here. So this is the height from tip to center of the base. Here's your slant height is the hypotenuse of the right triangle. And this down here, remember, is half of the base edge. So that's going to be 5. So then you plug that in, and then we go ahead and multiply that out. We get 500 divided by 3, and that doesn't go in evenly. It doesn't say to leave it in exact terms, but we're going to. So then that would just be 500 over 3 cubic units. If you did the approximately and rounded, the approximately was 166.7 if you rounded to the nearest tenth cubic units. Then if you're finding the volume of the cone, it's the same formula. It's just the area of the base is different because the base is now a circle. So then you're going to use your pi r squared. And so that's pi times 8 squared, which will be 64 pi. I'll leave it in terms of pi for now. And then we need the height. So that's this guy right here. So then we have a Pythagorean theorem problem. So then we would have h squared plus 8 squared equals 17 squared. So if we do the math, what do we get here? Get the square root of 225, which is 15. So h is 15. So then we'll do volume is 64 pi times 15 divided by 3. So 64, we get 320 pi for the exact answer of cubic millimeters. And then if you did the approximate, we times 320 times 3.14, and that's about 1004.8, or I'm sorry, cubic millimeters because it's volume. Okay, so you will be given the little half sheet of the formulas again, but remember it doesn't tell you what formula is what. You have to know that. Okay, so now I have a few problems that I was going to walk you guys through from the worksheet. These are the problems I thought maybe were a little harder, or you were getting weird, you were going to get weird answers, which is okay. So the first one was number 5, and on this section from your worksheet, it's a cone, and so if I sketched it, it would look like this. The diameter all the way across is 14, so then that means the radius is 7. Slant height is 25, and we don't know what this height is. Okay, so then our formula surface area, remember, is pi RL plus capital B. Volume is capital BH divided by 3, or 1/3 times BH. So then for surface area, we have pi times 7 times 25 plus our capital B, since it's a circle, pi r squared. So you get pi times 7 squared, which is 49 pi. And these directions told you to round to the nearest tenth and use 3.14 for pi. So when you do this part, when you plug in this, so 3.14 times 7 plus, or times 25 plus 49 times 3.14, you should get approximately 703.4 square units. Then for the volume, you plug in your 49 pi, which is capital B, times your height, which we don't know yet, and then we'll divide by 3. So to get the height, that's when you do your right triangle stuff. And this is actually a triple, but if you didn't know this one, you would have to do Pythagorean theorem. So h squared plus 7 squared equals 25 squared. And you end up, after you do the math, you get that the height is, where did I write it? Was it 24? Yeah. So then 49 times 3.14 times 24, all divided by 3, should get you 1,230.9 cubic units. Okay, so this only because I want to go over this one only because you have your decimals and they wanted you to round. And we had usually been keeping it in exact form. Okay, so the next cone, we have the height. We know is 3. Slant height is 9. We don't know this radius, and we will need that. So, I'm going to go ahead and do the Pythagorean theorem because this is not a triple. So 3 squared plus r squared equals 9 squared. So then you have 9 plus r squared equals 81. So r squared is going to equal minus 9 is 72. Sorry. And then you square root these, and you get r is the square root of 72. You can leave it like that because we're going to end up doing the decimal later in the end after you plug it in where it needs to go. Okay? Okay, so then capital B, we're going to use pi r squared. So that's pi times square root of 72 squared, which is just going to be 72 pi, because then those cancel and you end up with just the 72 pi. Okay, so then surface area, it's pi times radius, radical 72, times slant height 9, plus your b, which was 72 pi. When you type all that in your calculator, so 3.14 times the square root of 72 times 9 plus 72 times 3.14, and you get about 465.9 square inches. And the volume is 72 pi times the height, which was 3, all divided by 3. When you type all of that into your calculator, you should get about 226.1 cubic inches. Okay. And then the other one I was going to go over is number 7. Find the volume of a cone with a surface area of 384 pi and a radius of 12. Round your answer to the nearest tenth. Okay, so our final thing is volume. But remember the volume formula you need capital B, height divided by 3. So we do know the full surface area, but we don't know just what the base area is. We could find that because we do have the radius, so we could find B. We don't have the height. And so we're going to have to do some work here. So surface area is, for cone, pi RL plus capital B. Well, let's change this capital B into the formula that it actually is. So then I would have surface area equals pi RL. And remember how we find the area of the base of a circle, or of a cone, which is a circle, we use pi times radius squared. So I'm going to plug that in, or change the B into this, because then I can plug in some stuff. So then I know the surface area is 384 pi. So pi, we know the radius is 12, we don't know the slant height, plus pi times the radius squared, which is 12 squared. So I just changed the capital B part to actually what the area of the circle is, and then that way I could plug in some stuff. So let me clean this up a little bit. So then the 12 goes in front, so 12 pi L, that's 144 pi. Okay, from here, this is just a number. It doesn't have a variable. Our variable is slant height here, because then for the cone, remember we have our right triangle, and so we want height for our formula. We know the radius is 12, and we're trying to figure out the slant height because that's the only variable in surface area that we don't have. Once I find the slant height, then I can figure out what the height is that I need for volume. Okay, so that's why we're doing this. So then we can subtract 144 pi. And the pi's stay, so then we end up with pi because we're subtracting. And then we end up with 240 pi equals 12 pi L. Well, we can divide off the 12 pi and leave slant height by itself. And so 240 divided by 12, which is 20, the slant height. Well, again, the reason why we need the slant height is so that we could get another side of this right triangle. So now we can do Pythagorean theorem to find h, because I need that for my volume formula, which is what they wanted us to find. So you can do the algebra, and h is going to come out to be 16 when you do the math. So now I have what I need. Remember, our base area was pi r squared, so that was the 144 pi. We just found the height was 16, all divided by 3, and this one said round your answer to the nearest tenth. So when you plug that in, you get about 7,234.6 cubic units. So it was a little funky, but manageable. You had all the information. You've been taught all the information. You just haven't done one exactly like this. You just have to think about what you know, plug in what you know. We just changed the formula. Instead of just being pi RL plus capital B, since it's a cone, the circle, or the base is a circle, so the base area formula is pi r squared, and then from there you can plug in what you know and solve for L. And we needed L, slant height, so that we could finish this right triangle and get enough information to solve for h, which is what we needed in our formula here. Okay. All right, so go ahead and clear off your desk except for a pencil and a calculator and your divider. So have somebody go get your dividers. Put everything else away except your pencil and calculator and your divider. And then the substitute will pass out the quizzes. You'll have no more than 10 minutes to complete the quizzes. Turn them over to the blank side when you're finished. Go ahead and pause this video to do that. Okay, so our topic today is spheres. And so as you need to, you can go ahead and pause this video. Spheres, we'll just do surface area and volume. So how do you find the surface area and volume of a sphere? So we'll add that to our formulas. So our only main idea is spheres for today. And for a sphere, the only piece of information that we need is the radius of the sphere. And the radius has got to be measured at the very center circle. You can't do the radius up here somewhere. It's got to be in what we call the great circle of the sphere, which is that kind of like the equator is for Earth. It's got to be that great circle there. Then you measure that radius. Okay. So the surface area of a sphere is 4 pi r squared. And the volume of a sphere is 4 pi r cubed over 3. Some people like to write it this way, where they put the 4/3 and then pi r cubed are off to the side. That's okay too. The only reason I like doing it the way that I have it written originally is because if you need to leave something simplified, like whatever you get on top isn't divisible by 3, but you're leaving it in terms of pi, this is just easier so that you have some number over 3. To think about it that way. And so r, like I said, is our radius, which is measured at that great circle, like the equator of the Earth. So the Earth is an example of a sphere in real life. Basketball would be an example of a sphere in real life. So remember, the surface area is the amount of material it takes to make the sphere. The volume is the amount of little 1 by 1 by 1 cubes that fits inside. So basically the space inside. All right, we're only going to do one example. These are pretty straightforward. So go ahead and pause and see if you can plug these in, and we're leaving our answers in terms of pi, and then we'll see how you did. Okay, so let's do surface area. So that's 4 pi times the radius 6 squared. So then that's going to be 4 times 36, which give you 144 pi square centimeters. Okay, and then your volume, 4 pi times radius cubed, so 6 to the 3rd power, all divided by 3. So 6 to the 3rd times 4 divided by 3, 288 pi centimeters cubed. And then if they asked for the approximate, this did not, it just said leave it in terms of pi, which are your exact answers. Then you just type that in 3.14 for pi. So pretty straightforward, but you'll do some practice problems where maybe they give you the surface area and they want you to solve for the radius, or they give you the volume and want you to solve for the radius. And then your worksheet is also unique. This is why I didn't put it on the on OneNote. Everybody has a paper copy for this, because you'll do 3 problems on your own, and then the last problem asks you to make your own examples and it tells you what the given information is. Once you make your own examples, then you're going to switch papers with somebody else, and they're going to work out your problems. So make sure that you say how you want them to leave it. Do you want the exact answer? Do you want the approximate answer rounded to the nearest 10th or 100th or whatever your case is? So make sure you add in enough information in there so they know how to leave their answer. So you'll have to add that in there. So and then they'll give you your paper back, and then you'll check to see if their work is correct. Okay, and then if not, then you have a conversation about where the mistake was, because then that's just giving you some extra practice, but you guys are coming up with your own examples. Okay, so don't forget to do a repetition now, and then do a repetition later, and then you'll have a quiz over spheres tomorrow, and then tomorrow you will be taking a practice test over chapter 12, and you'll practice it just like you will the test next Tuesday, and you'll get the little formula sheet that you've been getting for the quizzes. You'll get that for the test as well. So remember, it's just a list of formulas. It doesn't tell you which formula is which or what those variables represent. So you still need to study that and know what that is. Okay? Get working.